For many years, Buckingham Palace acted like it didn't hear anything that was being said about them. And now, suddenly, everything has changed completely. News from inside the palace said that official documents had finally been written and signed. Not rough drafts or early versions, not warnings, not we'll decide later messages, but final orders. Orders that would forever change the future of two children who never wanted to be part of this battle, Archie and Lilibet. According to people who know about the process and what's happening, the message inside those papers was incredibly clear and direct. Their right to be called royal is gone, not postponed or delayed, not being thought about or discussed, gone completely. And the moment those words were written down on official paper, the palace's silence finally made sense to everyone. They weren't ignoring anything. They were waiting, calm, patient, and completely sure that the rule book would speak louder than anything Meghan and Harry said in public. But to understand why the royal family made such a harsh and final choice, we have to look at a very old book, one written long before Meghan, Harry, or their children were ever born. A rule book that has controlled the royal family line for more than 100 years. The year was 1917. The world was at war. Kingdoms were falling apart and collapsing, and the British royal family was desperately trying to protect itself from confusion, fake claimants, and political dangers. So King George V did something no king had done before. He wrote down in official legal words exactly who could be called a prince or princess, not as a story or suggestion, not as tradition. As actual law, his announcement was called the Letters Patent, and it became the foundation of royal identity for every generation that came after him. Inside this document were three strict rules a royal child must follow. Rule number 1. The child must be from a real royal family line. The royal family wanted to make absolutely sure no one without clear royal background got into the line of succession. Rule number 2. The child's birth must be officially recognized and written down by the crown, not by a news release, not by a private announcement, but by the royal household itself. Rule number 3. The child must be connected to the Church of England through an official baptism ceremony. This wasn't optional or a suggestion, it was seen as a legal step in royal identity. These rules were harsh, exact, and unchanging. They were created to protect the royal family from exactly what it feared most: confusion about who was really royal. For many years, every royal birth followed these rules perfectly. No shortcuts, no special cases, no problems at all, until Archie was born and the very first crack showed up in the royal paperwork. Archie's birth in 2019 should have been easy and simple. A happy announcement, smiling parents, a new baby welcomed into history. And at first, that's exactly how it looked to everyone. But inside the legal paperwork, inside the one document meant to protect a royal child's identity forever, something weird and unusual happened. Archie's birth certificate at first listed his mother, as most legal documents would. Rachel Meghan Markle. Everything normal, everything correct. But later, the document was changed quietly and suddenly without a clear reason being given. Meghan's full legal name was taken out and replaced with one phrase, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. Now, usually birth certificates are locked and permanent. They don't get changed like school papers or updated like social media posts. They are meant to be permanent records that never change. So when this change appeared, it set off warning signs and alarms behind palace walls. Meghan claimed the palace forced the change on her. Palace workers claimed Meghan asked for it herself. Both sides said the other side was wrong and lying. And no one ever gave a final agreed answer that everyone accepted. But here's what mattered to the royal family. A royal birth record had been changed. And once a royal record has doubt attached to it, that doubt becomes a crack. One that spreads. One that grows. One that eventually leads to everything falling apart. By the time Lilibet was born in 2021, the palace had already learned something powerful. Silence can be louder than any words. Because when her birth came, the world expected a familiar picture. Royal doctors standing by, official announcements from Buckingham Palace, photographers ready to record the newest member of the royal family. But none of that happened at all. Instead, the birth of Harry and Meghan's daughter came from thousands of miles away, wrapped in a cheerful news release from sunny California. A modern announcement, a friendly message, a picture-perfect statement, but something was missing from it. actually someone was missing: the crown itself. There was no royal seal, no palace confirmation, no official record, no appearance of any official royal witness. And to those who study royal rules carefully, this wasn't small or unimportant. This was a signal, a quiet message sent without a single spoken word saying, "We are not claiming this child as ours." For hundreds of years, royal births had been treated almost like historical ceremonies. Every detail mattered: where the child was born, who delivered them, which doctors signed off, how the crown wrote it down. These steps weren't just tradition, they were the royal family's way of saying, "This child belongs to our history." But with Lilibet, none of those steps were followed or completed. To the public, it looked like a simple difference: one baby born in the UK, one baby born in America. But to the palace, it was much bigger than that. A royal child was introduced to the world without the crown's involvement, making her the first Windsor relative in modern times to enter the world outside the royal record. And inside Buckingham Palace, this wasn't seen as an accident or mistake. It was seen as a change, a break from the path every royal baby had walked for over 100 years. The quiet rejection had started. Don't forget to subscribe to Royal Daily Report for more royal updates. If the birth made people suspicious, what happened next caused real worry and concern. Months later, Meghan shared that Lilibet had been baptized in California. She spoke warmly about the ceremony, the joy, the photos, the meaning. But behind palace walls, the reaction was very different. Because for royal children, a baptism isn't just a family event or celebration. It is one of the main requirements set by the 1917 Letters Patent. It's the moment the child is officially tied to the Church of England, the crown, and the hundreds of years of tradition behind them. It is a legal marker just as important as a birth certificate. But according to sources familiar with church records, Lilibet's California baptism was never registered with the Church of England. To the couple, it was a beautiful celebration. To the royal family, it was a ceremony that didn't exist officially. And in the royal world, this is not a small problem. This is major. A child without a recognized Church of England baptism is considered outside the official record. No matter how meaningful the ceremony was, inside palace circles, this was seen as an avoidable but permanent mistake. The crown saw it as a break in rules, not by the child herself, but by the parents. And instead of strengthening Lilibet's connection to the royal family, the event did the opposite. It left her floating between two worlds, celebrated by her family in America, but not recognized by the system she was born into. While these cracks formed quietly, another problem was growing. Something far more personal and far more painful. When Meghan married Harry, she didn't just join a family. She stepped into a worldwide story, a royal story. As cracks in the royal foundation grew wider around his children, Harry did something no one expected from a prince who promised he was done with the royal family. He reached back. According to those familiar with the private conversations, Harry made late-night phone calls to the very system he had walked away from. These were not planned calls, not polished media-ready speeches. They were emotional, personal, begging. He begged the palace to think again, begged for Archie and Lilibet to be written into the royal record, begged for the titles he believed his children deserved by blood. To Harry, this wasn't about fame or marketing. This was about legacy, the one thing he thought he could protect, even after stepping down. He believed he could leave royal duties behind and still raise royal heirs. But every time he tried to explain, he hit the same unmovable wall. A palace worker supposedly responded to him with a sentence so cold, so direct, that it would ring in his mind for months. This is not about emotion. This is about order, family line, and the future of the crown. And for Harry, that was the moment everything changed, because he realized something heartbreaking. He wasn't just the prince who stepped away from royal life. He had become the prince whose children were being erased from it. Once the palace made its decision, it moved with amazing speed. No cameras, no news conferences, no dramatic royal statements, just quiet, steady action, the kind the crown is famous for. According to insiders, the results were not gentle, not temporary, not open to discussion. This was the full list of what Archie and Lilibet supposedly lost. No royal titles, no prince, no princess, no ceremonial roles, no official duties, no public honors. No place in the line of succession, names removed or blocked from the legal order. No crown-funded security. Their protection left completely to their parents. No permanent record in royal files. The books that outlast centuries no longer include them. In the world of royalty, titles aren't just words. They are keys. They open doors to history. They tie a child to a family line. They guarantee a place in a story bigger than any individual. Without those keys, a royal child becomes ordinary. And that is exactly what the palace's final orders did. They stripped away everything that connected Archie and Lilibet to the centuries-old Windsor legacy. Not as punishment, not as revenge, but as following the rules. The royal family had acted, and nothing would be the same again. In the end, Buckingham Palace never shouted, never argued, never tried to outtalk the storm of interviews, podcasts, or documentaries. It didn't need to, because the royal family has always understood its greatest power: silence. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is strategy. Silence is the crown's way of saying everything without saying a word. For years, the palace watched from a distance. Quiet, still, patient. It watched Meghan build her brand as a royal mother. It watched Harry struggle to connect two worlds. It watched the documentaries, the public speeches, the palace criticisms, all without responding. Because the royal family knew something the rest of the world forgot. Power is not proven with noise. Power is proven with finality. And when the time came, the crown acted with the cold speed of a system older than empires. It erased titles. It rewrote records. It removed names from history's path with a message that will ring louder than anything Harry and Meghan have ever said. The crown does not bend. Not for personalities, not for celebrity, not for noise or attention. And once the crown chooses to erase your place in its story, you are not a rebel. You are not a threat. You are not even a chapter. You are simply gone. That is the royal family's final message: chilling, quiet, permanent. And it leaves one last truth hanging in the air. Archie and Lilibet will grow up loved, protected, and free. But the pages of royal history, the pages that last longer than any interview or documentary, will not carry their names. The absence is the punishment. The silence is the answer. And the decision once made is forever. That's all for today's Royal Daily Report. Remember to subscribe to our channel for more exclusive royal news and stories. Stay informed.